I'm going to read Brave New World, Chapter 3. This chapter is also very long. Here you go. 3. Outside in the garden. It was playtime. Naked in warm June sunshine. 6 over 700 little boys and girls were running with thrills or lawns, but playing ball games or skating silently in twos or threes among the explorer shrubs. The lodged one bloom and 2 nightingales and soaring long trees in the bosques. Cuckoo was just going out of tunes among the lime trees. There were stories with us a murmur of bees and helicopters. The director and his students stood for short times to watching a game of centrifuges the bamboo puppy. 20 children were grouped in a circle around a scrum street tower. Above runs also as runners on the platforms that the tower rolled down into the interior that fell on a rapidly evolving disc. We heard through others of numerous apertures and pierced there in the cylindrical casing and had to be caught. Strange, mused the director. As they turned away, it was strange to think that even in hours the 4 days most games we were playing without more apparatus than at the ball, water, and a few sticks, and perhaps a bit of netting to imagine the folly of allowing some people to play and elaborate the games which do nothing whatever to increase its consumption. It's not nowadays as controlled as the want of food. Any new games unless it can be shown that it requires at least as much effort as that the most complicated of existing games. He interrupted himself. Not charming little growth, he said, disappointed. And a little gracious debate between top clumps of the Mediterranean heater. 2 children, a little boy, stopped about 7, a little girl who might have been a year old as they were playing very gravely, and with all the focused attention of scientists, and 10 level of discoveries of rudimentary sexual game. Charming, to DH sleepily sentimentally. Charming. The boys politely agreed this, but their smiles was the patronizing. They had to put aside a seamless childish amusement to recently to be able to watch them now without a touch of contempt. Charming's body was just a pair of the keys fooling about, but it was all just keys. I always think the director was continuing in the same rather modern tones when he was interrupted by a loud boo-hoo. From a neighboring shrubbery emerged a nurse leading by the hand a small boy, who howled as he went, an anxious-looking little girl trotted at her heels. "What's the matter?" asked the director. The nurse shrugged her shoulders. "Not much," she answered. "It's just that this little boy seems rather reluctant to join. In ordinary role plays, I noticed it once or twice before, and now again today. He started yelling just now, so honestly, but in the anxious-looking little girl, I didn't mean to hurt him or anything, honestly." "Of course you didn't, dear," said the nurse in reassuring stance. She went on turning back to the director. "I'm taking him in to see the assistant superintendent of psychology just to see if anything's at all abnormal." "All right," said the director, taking him in. "You say her little girl," he added as the nurse moved away with her Sheila in charge. "What's your name?" That was Crockett. "And a very good name, too," said the director. "No, now and see if you can find some other little boy to play with." The child scampered off into the bushes and was lost to sight. Excuse the little creature, said the director, looking after her, then turning to his students. "What am I going to tell you now?" said. "It may sound incredible, but then when you are not accustomed to stories, the most facts about the past do sound incredible. It are damaging truths for a very long period before the time about forward, and even for some generation afterwards. Erotic play between children had been regarded as normal. There was a roar of laughter and narrowness of numbers actually more had therefore been rigorously suppressed. A look of astonished incredulity appeared on the faces of his listeners, who the keys roused, amused themselves, and they could not believe it. Even adolescents. Then they should saying, even the adolescents like to use that. Not possible. Marrying, a little illustration, altruism, and homosexuality observed nothing. In no case, till the was over 20 years old. 20 years old, echoed the string in a chorus of loud disbelief. 20, the director repeated. I told you that you'd find it incredible. What happened? They asked us. What were the results? The results were terrible. A deep resonant voice broke startling into the dialogue. They looked around just on the fringe of the little group stood a stranger, a man of the middle height. The black hair, with its hooked nose and full-eyed lips, eyes, and very piercing and dark and terrible features and gazes. I at the moment sat down on one of the stew and the lovely benches, coming into scatters through the gardens, but at the sight of the strangers, he sprang to his feet and darted forward, his hand outstretched, smiling with his oh, yes, this is a future. Controller, what an unexpected pleasure, boys. What am I thinking of? This is the controller, this is the floorship, and then Mustafa just in the 4,000 rooms of the centuries, the 4,000 electric clocks and simultaneously struck for. This canary voiced the call from the trumpet mouths. Main day shift off their duty. Second day shift takeover. Main day shift off. The lift on their way up to the changing rooms and hand floors and then assistant directors and destinations letters points to list on their Bowen, Bernard and Marx and from the psychologists bureau actually themselves from the several restitution. The fame him and the little of the missionaries to restore the crimson air in the embryo stores the shifters might come and go. One the loafers then colored face to give place to another. Modest girls and forever the conveyors and crafted forward the wither road of features among men. Then as the turns walked briskly toward the door, as a poor sheep and the Mustapha's moon, and the eyes of the surging students almost popped out of their heads to Mustapha's moons. The resident controllers of Western Europe, one of the 10 world controllers, one of the 10. And he sat down on the benches with the DH he was going to stay to say. Yes, afterwards talk to them straight from the horse mouth stretches from north to pole. I'm sorry, to the shrimp. The woman charged the measured from neighbors the sharpest stared at them to form room to the largest. As soon as the eyes then returned to their establishment among the leaves. He remembers that as controllers in his strong, deep voice. He all remembers the eyes of the beautiful and inspired things out forward. He saw his bunk, he saw the lifted slowly his bunk. He waved his hand and was adored with the invisible spider whisk and he had brushed away a little dust, and the dust was her first. That was of the childiest some spiders web, and there was and goblins, canoes, and McKenna, whiskers, and where was also where was Japt, where was Jupiter's Gautama Judas, which is those spects of the antiquaries, the cold anthems and long Jerusalems and Middle Kingdom, all ground and whiskers of place. Where tourists had been were amethyst whiskey and Castlefurst whiskey and whiskers of the links line as them. So sort of Pascal's whiskey and passion, muscular cream, whiskers of simple whiskey, going to foodies, and this brings the handles they require assistant predestinator. He then used the one at that for his first lady, and there was a lot of Bruce Kinsler and there's a marvelous over here of the bears that produced the most amazing textual effect. That's why you were told to know service the controllers was saying, and now the times has come. And DHs looked at him notably, or those trenches and most of old province books hidden and saved and this controller started bargaining for exploring what Mustafa intercepted his anxious glance and then corners of his large lips twitched the ironically all right, after he said it in tone of faint region. I want to goddamn ditches was overwhelmed with the confusion. Though feel gentle despised or do well to look despising. The smile on burn marks the face was contemptuous. Our hair on the bear indeed I shall make a point of going, said Henry Forster. Mr. Mond leaned forward and shook her finger at him. Just right to realize to Silas, then his voice then strained the drills and quiverings along near the performance and tried to realize what it was like to have a big power of some other. The smutty word again, but none of them dreamed this time of smiling, tried to imagine what living with one's family meant. They tried, it's obvious you would have the smallest stuffers, and they knew what a forms was. They shook their heads. From her dim crimson cellars, Lena's cones, and shut up 17 stories. Turned to the right as she stepped out of the lift and walked down a long corridor and opening the doors marked the girl's dressing room, plunging to her deafening snickers of worms and bosom and underclothing. The roar of hot water was splashing into her sculpting out of under the bath was rumbling as hissing aided by a vacuumed message. The machine was simultaneously kneading sand and sucking the firm sand and some burnt flashes of 8 superb female specimens, and everyone was talking. A tower of voice syntactic music machine was wobbling out of the slippers and consoler. "Hello, Fanny," said the lineage to the young woman, and who had the spec and lockers next to her. And Fanny worked in this bottling room. Her surname was also a clown, but as the 2,000 million inhabitants of the planet had only 10,000 names in between names, and constant was not particularly surprising. Lanier, who at her differed downward on the jacket, downwards, with a double-handed gesture that held the trousers downward again to loosen her undergarments, stretched wearing her shoes, and stepping as she walked off toward the bathrooms, how to fuse most rooms and springs of inhabitants by a man, by the periodical teams, and the women's by level of boys and girls of all ages and wears, no space under sterilizing and prisons against disease and smells. The cultural evocation was so vivid that one of the boys more sensitive than the rest. Colonel Barrett, the nearest description was on the point of being shaken. When they got out of the bath and toward his house after rise and took hold of the long plucks of a tube, plugging towards and presented the nozzles to her breast. At all she meant, come aside, pressed down the trigger. A breath of warm air that dust her with the finest talcum powder. 80% and then, oh, the cone were loving little taps over the wash basins as she turned on the third from the left and devil herself to woody side, carrying her shoes and the stockings in her hand. When out to see one of the biggest vacuum machines was free at home, what is called as psychologically and physically, it was laboratories and meetings and hot with the friction of totalist and packed life and lacking the body's emotion to would suffocating intimation would end or insane. Often relationship between the members of the family group, the medical the modest breed of her child and her children, the breeds of them, so like a cat with the kitten, like a cat and could talk a cat and could say, "My baby," over and over again, "My baby," oh, at my breast, the little hand of hunger and the unspeakable burning, agonizing pleasure. They arrested my baby's wrist, and my baby's wrist raised the bottle of white meat at the corner of his mouth. My little baby's wrist. Yes, said the Mustafa Moon, nodding his head to me. Well, shut up. Who are they going out with tonight? Rainier asked, returning from the double break like a full illuminated from the wrist, faintly glowing. Never eat, Rainier laid her eyebrows in astonishment. I've been turning over. Out of sort waitery. The Fanny's friend, Dr. Wells advised me to have a pregnancy substitute. But my dear, still only 19. The first pregnancy substitute in compulsory still 21. And others, about some people start better these days begin earlier. Dr. Wells told me that the brood would be wired to parents like me, and perhaps there is the first pregnancy at 17, so I am. Really 2 years later, it's not 2 years early, and she opened the doors, her locker, and pointed to the roller boxing and leveraged her shelves. She was carved the trim, Lena, read the names of loud. Guaranteed fresh, not to be used after the season. AF 632. Memories gland extract to be taken 3 times daily. before meals with a little water, pristines and pop CCs to be injected intravenously every third day. Lena's heard how I load intraverse, don't you? Yeah, but when they do one good, Penny was particularly sensitive to her. The follow-up for food, and I asked for some inscrutable reason. I chose to call himself whenever he spoke of psychological matters that was the food had been the first to be the appalling enders of my family life. The world was full of fathers were therefore full of misery, full of mothers and therefore of every kind of deprivation, and from sadism and chastity, full of brothers and sisters, uncles, and full of manners and society. And as among the savages of Somma in certain islands of the coast of New Guinea. The tropical sunshine bright like the worms and horns on the naked birds of children struggling from issue almost the huge bosom wasn't any one of 20 palms in Chester's house, and the Trovian and the conception was the work of a centuries ghost. Nobody had ever heard of the pattern extreme. Other countries meet, but a good reason that they were made to meet. That where it says that with 3 months of pregnancy substitute now, the will make all the differences in my heart for the next 3 or 4 years. Well, I have to slide and Nina. But, Fanny, do you really mean to say that for the next 3 months? Are you not supposed to? Oh no, dearest, only a few week and the food. That's all. I shall spend evenings at Crumbs playing music preaching. I suppose you're going out. Then artist, who wait? And first, again, Fanny kindness, the rather moonlight, the face of Duke, on an incongruous expression of the pain and disturbing assertions. Do you mean to tell me we are just going out with Henry Porter, mothers and fathers and boss and sisters, but there were also husbands, wives, and lovers, and there was also some monogamies and romance. Monogamy. No, you probably don't know what those are, said Mr. Vermont. They shook their heads, and families, monogamy, and romance never was exclusively. This never was channels of important energy, but everyone belongs to everyone else, and it includes the settings that is paddock is probable. The students noticed empathetically disagreeing with his statement, which is upward 6 to 7 students in the dark, and then had made them accept not merely that truth as axiomatic something between utterly indisputable, but after all, Lena was protesting. It's only about 4 months now since I've been having him. Only for months I like that. And also most punished went on, pointing an accusing finger. There's been nobody else except the families of all times. There's Lena's blushed scarlet, and her eyes and the tone of her voice remained defiant. No, there has been anyone else, she answered almost truculently. And I jolted, well, don't see why. There should have been. Oh, she jolted, well, doesn't she, why there should have been. Henry though the 2 invisible listeners behind them, Lena's left shoulder. Then, with a certain change of tone, and Basil's she had sadly you ought to be careful. In such horrible better to go on, and unlike this with one man, at 40 or 35, it would to be so sad, bad, but at your age is right now, nurse the really wonder, and you know how strong the ditch is subject to anything in terms of long term. Drawn the performance of the handfuls without having another man. Why, it would be foolish if he knew. Think of the water under pressure in a pipe. They thought of it, and I furious once, said the controller of what a jet. He pressed it 20 times, and there were 20 featuring little fountains in my baby's mother's menacing infectious. Mother, my one precious. Mother, my lovely, the high sports, the fountains, the purest and foamy, the wild jet. The virgin has but a single outlet. My baby's son. No wonder the deeds for the pre-modernists were the matter weakness in the middle of it. There was the word deem, allow them to take things easily, allow them to be saints and virtuous, happy, what with modest lovers, what with the profession they were not conditioned to obey, so what with the temptation and the lonely numbers, what with all the disease and the endless isolation, pain, and with the uncertainty and the poverty, and they were supposed to feel strongly, and the feeling strongly and the Strong is the word was more in solitude and toughness individual isolation. How could they be stable? Of course, there is no need to give him up. And help somebody else from time to time, that's all. That girls, doesn't he? Lena admits, of course he does, and first any supposed to be the perfect central way is correct. And then there's the director's think of, what a secret. Nothing, it probably knew behind this afternoon, said Lena. There, you see, Lena was triumphant. That shows what he stands for. The strict conventionality, stability, that is control stability. No civilization without social stability. No social stability without individual stability. As boys was a trumpet and whistles they felt lauder. The machine turns and turns and must keep on turning forever. It's last if we stand still, 1,000 millions described and the course of the earth. The wheels began to turn in 150 years now. There were 2,000 millions and stopped all the wheels in 100 of, and the 50 weeks then there were once more only 1,000 millions, 1,000 men and women have struggled to death, and then wheels must turn sterile but cannot turn them. There must men to turn them. Man studied the wisdom upon their actions, and the same man of the man are stable in the content, crying, "My baby, my mother, my only one going," and the machines in night are the God, and then screams to reach the flame motoring through its people the morning of ages, the property how can attend the feast, and if they cannot attend the feast, the corpse of thousands of men and women would be hurried to bury or burn. After all, burning stones was coaxing. It's not as though there was anything so painful or disagreeable about having one. Demand besides the handstand things that you should be a little more promiscuous stability. And such is control stability, the primary and the ultimate need stability. Hence all this. But a wave of his hand, and he indicated the garden. The huge buildings of the conditioning centered the naked central children's portrait, and the growth of learning across lawns, and Lena shook her head. Somehow such moves had been experienced very keen on the mosquito lately. There are times when one doesn't. Haven't you found that too, Fanny? Penny nodded her sympathy and understanding, but one's got to make the effort. She said sincerely that one's got to play the game. After all, everyone belongs to everyone else. Yeah, everyone belongs to everyone else. So Lena looked slowly and shouting, was silent for a moment, then taking Fanny and gave it a little squeeze. Yes, you were quite right, Fanny. As usual, I'll make the effort. Impulse. Unless the spill is over, the first feeling, the first passion. The first is madness. It depends on the force of the current, the height and strength of the barrier. The unchecked stream flows smoothly down the pointedly, channeling towards calmly. The embryo is hungry. Day in, day out. The blood surrogated pump and season is turned to 800 revolution a minute. The decanting put out at once nurses appears to the battle of external secretion, feeling works, and then intervals of time between desire and this consummation. Just that intervals break down all those old unnecessary beggars, fortunate boys. The other controllers no pains to have in chairs to make your lips emotionally is to preserve you. The pride that is possible from having emotions at all. Bored in taste of the fever, no matter the edges, all well with the world. Unicorn, there was a handy force that Corinda was sent to predestined question at the Egypt of his traverse. Oh, she was a splendid girl, wonderfully magic. I'm surprised that you haven't had her. I cannot think of you how it is to haven't considered since this tea made her 3 years ago. At the first opportunity from his place on the opportunity set out the changing window. One of the marks over what they were saying and turned pale. And to tell the truth, said Lena, I'm beginning to get just a tiny bit bored with it, nothing but honey every day. She flew laughed sucking. Do you notice the one of the mark? She asked as Lena Turnstone, who excused the casualness toward the evidence reporter. Penny looked startled. You don't mean to say? Why not? More than our purpose. And besides, he asked me to go to one of the Saturday reservation to him. I've always wanted to see a Saturday reservation. But it's reputation. What do I care about his reputation? They say he doesn't like the off golf. They say, Mark Lena. and then spends most of his time by himself alone, and there was a hole into panic voice. Well, he wanted to be alone when he's with me. And I was the why are people so beastly to him? I think he's rather sweet, and he smiled himself, and how absurdly shy and he had been, and imparting almost as often was word control. His grandma minus much minor, and I consider your own lives and said some stuff this morning. Has any of you ever encountered an insurmountable obstacle? The question was answered by a negative sense. And have you been compelled to live through long times the interval between the conscience of its giant and its fulfillment? Well, the beginning of the boy and his date, speaker, that they just don't keep his ship waiting. I once had to wait nearly 4 weeks before a girl I wanted would let me have her. And it felt out strong emotion in consequence. However, precisely, said the controllers, our answers were so stupid and short-sighted. And when the first reformers came along and offered to deliver them from those horrible emotions, they wouldn't have anything to do with them. Talking about adult mature, a bit of meat when I ground its teeth, and have you heard and heard and have heard there's a life of maternity degrading how to so much as maternity should have to just think of. That should give me an answer is this week and for and he would have liked to go up to them and hit them in the face hard and again. Yeah, I would advise you to try her, and then the first was saying take an Chinese picture and then call up Gooch had got the whole technique worked out. But would the government look at it? No, there was something called Christianity. Women were the first to go to being the Bible first. Exactly, said man. But I rather like his roots. And as the most vanished, middle greens and the smallest was so horrible and typically located. I think that's rather sweet, said Lenny, to please one would like to pet him. You know, like a cat. Ben was shocked, and they said somebody's made a mistake. One was still in the buffalo, so he was a scammer, and the food was into his blood, so Kate. That's why he's so stunned. One nonsense, Lannister was indignant. Slip teaching was actually prohibited in England. There was something called the Liberation Parliament. If you know what that was, against it, the recruit survived. To pitch about the liberty of subject, liberty to be inefficient and miserable, freedom to be round back in a squirrel hole. But, my dear chap, you are welcome, I assure you that you are welcome. And it forced the passenger, yes, it put his teenagers on the shoulder. Everyone belongs to everyone else than Apple. 100 repetitions 3 nights a week in 4 years. Though the Bernard Marx, who was a specialist on the hypomania, 2,400 repetition make one first idiot. Oh, the catch system. Considered proposed and considered rejected. There was some things called democracy. Adopt men were more than some psychochemically good. Well, all I can say is that I am going to accept his invitation. More hated them, but they were true, and then they were large. They were strong. 9 years the world began in episode 141. Not even if they were true about the psychology in the blood Stargate, Walsh, and then Corflofin, Ethel, Iodok, etc. Defense, Nash, and Trichomate, Chlorphomate, liquor tears effect, not to mention hydroxide acid, which I simply don't blame. Then yeah, hopefully the range of the 14,000 aeroplanes advancing in one from order are in the Corpus Kingdom, and the 8th error this month. The explosion of anthrax comes in $100 lanes popping on a paperback because I won the savage liberation. Wow, chemical. Well, what? An enormous hole in the ground is the fire of the mantle is some visible flesh and the micro fruit, and with the fruit was on flying through the air, landing and flopping in the middle of the journey on this corridor was once a splendid show, and that summer you are helpless land as I give you up. The Russian techniques for impacting water supplies was particularly, and then it's a back turn to back, The Venezuelans continued their changing in silence in the last years, and over the great economic collapse, and there was a choice between war controls and destruction, between stability and find crowns on nice and go to satisfaction to brothers matter. And also the elementary class consumer's lesson was about the virus, voices, were adapting features demand to features in industrial supply at that time. From the expert, I love flying. I loved having used clothes. I loved liberation culture or that of the anthrax. Not all the same, you couldn't do things by force. None is those pneumatic that legends. Oh, none is the but all the clothes at bistries continued trying to whispering to you always and throat and away all the clothes standing is better than and mending, ending is better than so mending is better. The government is affairs them sitting is not eating. You are loose with its brains and the buttocks and never with its fist. For example, there was a conscription of the consumption there, unready, said Lenya. But banning remained. Speech we stand about to let's make peace, Penny darling. A very woman and a child compelled to consume so much yet in the interest of industry stuff so resolute. I think it's better than mending. Ending is better than mending. Good. The more stitches, the less stitches. Ending is better than mending? Less stitches, the more stitches. One of these days that is fun and with this much emphasis, you will get into trouble. Confuse, objection, enormous scale, anything to consume back to nature. I love flying, I love flying. The back cultures, yeah, actually it's cultures. So you can consume much if you sit free. Little books, do I Nicolite? And I ask you to stop. Her jacket was made of the bottle greens acetate cloth with green viscose for the cups and the collars. 800 simples, lappers then were the mold and down by machines and guns at a golder's green. Ending is better than mending. Ending is better than mending. Green colors result and white visuals and swollen, stocking, tone downs and low D and then came the famous British Museum's massacres that 2,000 cultures, friends, and games, and Buddhist this call went through so far as the green and white and jerking up the shaders to rain sides. But she was for the brightest green and hardly flushed in the end. The Mustafa found and the tourists realized that first was no good first by infantry source method of exogenesis near the Pavlovian country and the hyphen fender. Round our waist, she wore a cerebral mounted greens and Moroccan surrogate is the courageous about the building, so Linus was not a freedman. With its regulations applied to the contrastive that the discovery of the feature and then Goagach, one of the last committees of an intensive propaganda against the baby powers production. Perfect, cried Spanish enthusiastically. She could never resist Lena's charm for long and put perfectly sweet man's food and but accompanied by a campaign against the past and by the closing of museum, the blow of the historical monument, luckily most of them had a lot of been destroyed during the 9 years war by the suppression of old to publish before the AF-150. I think we must get one like it, said Fanny. There were some things called the pyramids, for example, all black patterns bandoliers. And a man called Shakespeare, you've never heard of them, of course. It's absolute disgrace that bandoliers of mine, such are the advantages of really scientific education. The most teach the less reaches, the most teach the less. Introduction about forged and the first 30 models have carried nearly 3 months in chosen. And opening date of the new era, ending is better than mending. Ending is better of the other things, as I have said as well. Carol Christian standing is better than man, and the ethics philosophies of under consuming. I love new clothes, I love new clothes, I love them. So essentially the words are under production, but in the age of the machines and fixation, this is a prestige that climb within society. And the first they gave it to me. All crossroads had their cup, cut and became some teeth. There were also things called God, as well as a monocle locate. The world say now and the world forward and the day celebration and community things and soldier service. How I hate them, Max. I was thinking. There were the things called a haven, but all the same, they used think animals the quantities of alcohol, like meat, like so much meat. There were things called as whole and the thing called immortality. You ask him is where he got it, and well, they are used to take the morphine and the cocaine. And what makes it worse, she drinks and all sorts of meat, and 2,000 pharmacologist, biochemist was subsidizing therapy 178. Others Luke Holmes satisfied predestinators pointing at Bernard Max. 6 years later, it was being the project, commercially, the perfect drugs, let's be team, euphoric, narcotic, and predatory hallucinant, blunt, Max blunt, and the flap of the shoulder made him start. Look up, it was a butcher handy poster. What you need is a gram of somma. All the been Christian and alcohol, so none of this the cat. Oh, I should like to kill him, and but all he did was to say, well, thank you, and the pen of the flops's table, a tablet. I'll take a holiday from your routine whenever you like. Come back to the out so much as a headache or mythology. Take it and switch the hand first. Take it. A tablet was practically assured. 1 cubic centimeter is the cures 10 groomy centimeters. So that since predestined sightings the piece of the home is the hypnotic rhythm. Ornament is the control weight. Damn you. So sharp to the Bernard Mark. Holy torch. Get over the hormones and trim your young bird at the magnesium sword. And remember the green is better than all damn. You went up lapping all the physiological stigmata old ages have never stand along with them, of course. Don't forget to ask him about the Masimba and subsequently along with them, so old men's mental records and calculus remains in constraints throughout the whole lifetime. 2 rounds of cycle golf to get through before start. I must try with a place at 60, and our powers and tastes at what they were at 17. Old man in the bed and old days and you just announce retires, take religion, spend their time reading, thinking, idiot's fine. Well, Max was saying to himself as he walked down and covered the lift. Now, such is in progress, the old man work and the old man cough your and the old man have no time to no leisure from pleasure, and not a moment to sit down and think or if ever is to back some unlucky chance, such a crevice of time should young. In the solid substance, there are distraction. There is always somma, which is somma, half of the grammar, half the holiday, grammar for a weekend, and 2 grammars for a trip to the gorgeous east, 3 for the dark eternity of the moons and returning. And they used to find themselves on the other side of the crevice and sit on the solid ground of daily labors of distractions, scampering from completely to fully, the forms go to pneumatic to goes and from the electromatic to go to the coast too. Get away, little girls shouted and they just language. Go away, little boy, and can't you see this horseship and the police go and do you out to play some where there's insufficient little children's service the controller solely some other sticks were finished humming of the machineries, the conveyors moved forward 30 centimeters or the red reduction is printed in mirror levels. The end. I finished reading chapter 3. Quite long. Yeah, ending is better than mending. I think mending is better than ending. Recycling. And it's very fun.